I sent you that link that you needed. Love to do.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think my wife would even argue this cannot really be considered work for me because I just love it and enjoy it so much. And I get to live out my life's purpose and calling every day. And I just get to help fellow entrepreneurs and business owners that are trying to make their name and make their impact in the world. And so it's just I'm honored to be here with you today and get the chance to talk with you and get to introduce myself to your community.
Yes, thank you. Tell us a little more about your background. Where do you come from? Why marketing? How did you end up doing that?
Yeah. So it's an interesting story. I was actually came from a broken family. I didn't meet my mom until I was 17. My grandparents raised me until I was almost 4 years old, and my grandfather fell over right in front of me and passed away. And so that was a big shock to the system at a really young age. And I realized that here's life. So I ended up being raised for a few years by my dad, and then back with my grandma for a few more years. And then at the age of 16, my dad said, "Pack your stuff and get out, or I'll pack it for you." And I said, "Huh?" And so sure enough, I packed it. And next thing you know, I was sleeping on park benches, hanging out with train riders, and feeding myself out of, beefaroni cans, eating cold food out of cans, and just trying to survive, walking to school every day. And then when I turned 17, I ended up I met my mom and moved around a little bit and ended up going to get a job at doing sales. And that sales job gave me a ton of experience. I was really, really, really hungry and just thirsty for success and knowledge. And I had some pretty good mentors at that time that were working there. And so I just was a sponge, and I listened and I learned. And I think I have some natural instincts for people. I just love people. I genuinely am like crazy about people and hearing their stories. And so I would get to know people and, and their passions. So I became top sales selling cell phones. And then I moved into the car business when I turned 18 and started selling cars. And then when the home loan industry was really starting to kind of explode, a buddy of mine contacted me and said, "You should get out of that car business and come do loans with me." So I went and started doing loans. And then in 2007, everything tanked. I mean, literally to zero in like a matter of a week. And I was like, well, how am I going to produce an income? I ended up living with my dad for a short time. My income basically went to zero, and I had to try to figure out a way to start making supplemental income. And I ended up moving in with my dad for a few weeks. That didn't end up working out like it ever did. And I ended up finding myself in jail for 30 days, making some bad choices. I actually took his advice and ended up in jail for 30 days. And I wrote my business plan for my printing company while I was in there. And I had been doing graphic design as just a hobby on the side and doing flyers and stuff for people, and wasn't really making much money on it. But in jail, I wrote my business plan. And the day I got out, I opened up an office. I had enough cash to open up an office. 6 months later, I had opened up a retail location. And 2.5 years later, I had a $400,000 a year business. And I had just grown and changed so much in such a short amount of time. And I was leaving my broken families, the trauma, all of those things in the past. And I was just like, I'm going to change the trajectory of my life. The jail was a huge wake up call. I was like, I'm never coming back here again. This is not the way I want to live. And so mentors, I would give most of the credit to not only God, but secondly, mentors. Mentors are the ones that changed my life. So that's what my mission is. And my purpose here on earth is to be a mentor to youth, be a mentor to people who come from broken families, and to break that generational curse off of families and start creating new families and new mindsets, and just and break off the generational curse of broken families.
This is exactly where I was heading and guiding you. So I know it's so incredible that every time I have had the honor to talk with you, your story is unbelievably interesting, and I'm always thinking, and just now I heard something new again. I'm like, yeah. Wow, you have really gone through the fire and the living hell of on the earth, no? So yeah. And I'm really glad that you mentioned the mentorships, and that was one of the reasons which I really wanted you to be part of those talks, because you've been there, you know the power of it, and you know how just if we change one person, it's our mission can be completed, no?
Complete.
So
Yep.
tell us before we go to your strength, which is marketing, and everybody is really waiting for you to give some guidance and tips on that. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your philanthropic side. And you just mentioned that you're doing it yourself, and I have the honor to know you also through that gathering or soon to be more formal group. So what is Meek Mentors?
Meek mentor. So meek is a word that you find in the Bible. That's a common word, is the meek shall inherit the world. And so meek is being strong under pressure and being resilient and being able to overcome and persevering through all of the challenges and things that life is going to hand you. And so it's not being, a lot of people look at meek and they think weak, but meek is strength under pressure. I think that's literally like the definition of it. So, you know, we're in pressure and we have ups and downs in our life, but in those downs, we have to remain meek, we have to remain strong, and we have to remain focused on what our mission is, no matter what the challenge is that faces us.
Wow, you literally give so much voice to those that do not have the voice. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have you. So
I want them to feel strong. I want them to feel powerful. I want them to feel worthy. And I want them to, like Les Brown says, I want them to understand that they really do have greatness inside of them. And it's humbling to see somebody like you that's got the success and international. I mean, just so many different things you've done, and all the things that all the other people that we met at the last event we were both at. And just to be able to be surrounded by people like you and Carlos is incredibly humbling to look back just 15 years ago where I was at, you know, sitting in the jail, you know. Now here 15 years later, I'm meeting with some of the greatest minds and leaders in the world.
Well, you have been also mentored by very impressive names, so
that is true. Yep.
But let's talk about now more marketing and current problem and circumstances that most of us as entrepreneurs or business owners are facing. So what is the first thing you learned about digital marketing and you want others to know?
Yeah, so the first thing that my first experience with digital marketing was how to drive traffic, right? So I had my printing company. I ended up starting with a little 600 square foot retail shop where people would walk in, sit down with me. They'd tell me their life. They'd tell me their story and how they were out of work. This was right when the economy was at the lowest in the United States. And they were telling me about how they were superintendent for a construction company making $100,000 plus a year. And now they had no job, no work, no nothing. And they were just going to go out and be a handyman. So they tell me their story, tell me their skills, and I would take everything that they would tell me and I would turn that into a brand for them right there in front of them. And they were just like, whoa, as they were sitting there. And I would print their business cards and print their flyers and door hangers and yard signs and started doing all that. And then I got in contact with a guy who was a web designer from the Bay Area. And he said, man, you know, I know how to do search engine optimization. I'm like, search engine optimization? What the heck is that? He's like, it's all about how you drive traffic. Because if you got the paid ads and then you have the organic listings. And this was before the Google Maps was a thing. He's like, and then you got the organic listings there next. And if you can get to the top of the organic listings, you're guaranteed to get traffic. And I'm like, huh. So I'm like, I could give you an office out there with the rest of my team, but why don't you come in here and sit with me in my office? So I had him sit literally right next to me. Every single business meeting I did, he was sitting right there. Every single business meeting he did, he was sitting right there. I was sitting right there too. I just started listening and I was a sponge. So while I was designing, while I was meeting with people, I was listening to everything he said. I just sponged up all the information, all the resources, websites, strategies, good SEO strategies, bad SEO strategies, what the kind of shady people were doing in the industry and what the good ones were doing. So I learned a lot about search engine optimization. And so while he was doing that, I started working on my own search engine optimization for my printing company. And so I started ranking for California printing and wholesale printing and all these different keywords. And I just started watching the traffic grow. And then all of a sudden, multi-level marketing companies were coming to me for their printing and massive corporations. And I'm like, wow, this is powerful. So that was like my first introduction to digital marketing, was the search engine optimization. And a lot's changed since then, but now it's a lot more paid ads for me than SEO. But SEO was the first introduction to really understanding that traffic is the key.
Wow. And I hope that people understand. There might be a lot of people that do not understand what SEO is. So So
In, in the
if
simplest
someone
terms,
is doing the marketing for them, how should they understand what it is?
yeah. So in the simplest terms that I can put SEO is people have an intent to make a purchase, to research something. Everybody's in a different place in their customer journey. And a lot of people are in research mode. A lot of people research before they make a purchase. So you have to know what the keyword is that people are searching and what that keyword means in terms of intent. So if somebody's searching for best appliance, best refrigerator, most energy efficient refrigerator, they're probably in research mode. So if you're going to show them ads, you need to understand that they may be a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road of making that purchase. So if you want to find somebody that's actually looking for a specific, like I want to buy something today, then you'd be looking for a keyword like 10% off of Maytag, refrigerators, or smart refrigerator coupons, or something like that that has a higher intent where they're ready to make a purchase. They're looking for a deal. They're looking for the closest location. There's a bunch of different things that people are searching. So understanding what the keywords are that are based on the intent of the person that is going to be a customer. If you have a system in place, like a CRM and email automations and really good marketing in place, then you can take those customers that are very early in their journey, capture their information, retarget them, which basically means show them ads. Once they've landed on your website, you can start showing them ads everywhere you go and build a relationship with that person, so that when it does come time for them to make a purchase, for them to make a decision, then you are the first person that comes to their mind. You want to be top of mind. And so there's something very unique about human beings that I find really interesting. And this is one of the things my mentor taught me about the science of marketing, is the reticular activating system in somebody's brain is a filter. When you go buy a BMW, or you go buy a Corvette, or you buy a Ford Fusion like I have, then you start seeing them everywhere. That's because it has passed through the reticular activating system in your brain. And now since you've passed through that filter, you start seeing it everywhere. But before you owned a Ford Fusion, you never even recognize them or even notice that they were even on the road, unless it was like something out of the norm. Maybe your favorite color and it was like super exotic or something. So that reticular activating system works in marketing as well. And it's very important to marketing of the consistency. Is a lot of people that are online that are shopping are mostly in research mode. They say like 90% of them. And so you're fighting, if you're going after the people that are looking to buy now, like with Google ads, where the intent is very, very high, you're fighting for that 10% versus building a relationship with the 90. So I think there's a balance between the 90% and the 10% of, you need to be able to capture a certain percentage of the market with your marketing strategy of, these are people that are in research mode. They're just looking for a deal. Maybe they're looking for financing. Who knows what they're looking for? And then these are the people that are ready to buy now. And those people that are ready to buy now are going to cost you more money than on the nurturing side. It's going to be more expensive to get that instant gratification. And you have to be willing to put them into your system and have a system in place to be able to capture them and increase that lifetime value. So if they buy a refrigerator from you and you say you have $100 in profit in that, but it costs you $60 to advertise to them and get them to buy from you, that only leaves you with $40 in profit. Well, now you need to figure out how you can get them to buy a dishwasher and a microwave and all these other things to increase that value over time and that lifetime value.
I think you also gave a very good idea to everybody. I've never thought that way, that even to find the products which like coupons or discount. I have never searched that way.
It's true.
Something. And I think it's very important. And what I hope everybody was writing down or making notes also in a sense that where and on what you're spending the dollars on now. So
Yep.
if it's effective strategy that you have or not. And the next question is actually about the strategy. Obviously, I'm really sure if I have asked that question in January 2020, you would answer me differently. But
yeah.
What is the effective marketing strategy for 2020, knowing what is going on?
Yeah. So what everybody wants, it's funny, even whether I deal with a small mom and pop new startup company or I deal with a $30 million company, I get the same questions from people is, how do I maximize my advertising spend? How do I get the most for my money? And I'm seeing time and time again with clients, with my own projects that I'm doing for marketing my own stuff, and then also with colleagues of mine. I have a friend of mine that just did a video ad on YouTube, And in 2 hours, it was a 2-hour video ad where he had a call to action at the end of it. He did $50,000 a month in new revenue in 2 hours. So video advertising and using video like we're doing here is a really, really powerful way. And it's only going to get more and more powerful, I think, as time goes on, as an advertising medium. And so it is really cost effective to run video ads because of the engagement is so high. And if you structure your videos right and you have the right strategy and approach, man, you can really build an audience super fast for very, very little money with video advertising.
That's incredible advice, and I hope that whoever was listening again make notes, no? And if you want to have special question regarding it, then soon we're going to open them.
And video's pretty broad too. I mean, think about it. A lot of people will do Facebook Lives like this and conferences and webinars, but you can also do short, consistent bursts on a daily basis on TikTok, or a Facebook video, or doing YouTube videos on a weekly basis. I do 3 YouTube videos a week, and I don't expect anything in return from them financially. I give away a lot of my secrets there, but I'm just expecting to get practice out of it. I know eventually when I do start to really pick up momentum and speed, I can start monetizing that. And there's just a lot of potential to just position myself as an authority leader. So when you start creating content like that, you position yourself as an authority leader on any platform. And it could be short little 60-second content, or you could do long webinar style, hour-long podcast type videos as well.
But regarding the platforms, like I understand if we have one question here, and we are going to open the questions very soon, but it's exactly on spot with the topic that we are talking. What is the best platform to market right now? I would, if I would just be someone would ask me, then I would ask what's your avatar client. But is there anything which is sort of bulletproof that it doesn't matter, it will work? Or how do you see those platforms currently?
Yeah. I mean, it really does tie back into who your customer is. And that's where I see a lot of brands struggle is I'm like, okay, who's your target customer? They're like, okay, men and women between the ages of 25 and 60 who drive a car and live in the United States. And I'm like, okay, well, there's about 150 million people. Do you want to get a little bit more specific? And so a lot of people don't have clarity of the type of personalities they are. Are they Republican? Are they Democrat? Are they the top 10% of income? Are they top 20? And what kind of car do they drive? What do they do for a living? And so getting as targeted as you possibly can is what also drives the cost down. So if you use video, you have a specific targeted person. This is where when I do like Google advertising campaigns or Facebook advertising campaigns, I segment them into very, very, very small segments. I want to go for women, like my wife has a elderberry syrup. It's all natural, holistic wellness. Well, my targeted campaign for that was most successful, we got 84 purchases for $1.94 a purchase on Facebook ads, was to nurses. Okay, they're working in emergency rooms and hospitals and urgent care centers, and they're dealing with sick people all the time. Well, elderberry syrup has natural inflammation properties in it that helps with reducing inflammation. It helps keep your immune system strong. They need that, and they are familiar with it. There's already a bunch of nurses that do take elderberry syrup. So my job is to raise awareness, create an interest, then create the desire, like, hey, you can get this now for half off, or whatever that desire is going to be, however we're going to pitch the sales part, and then get them to take action. So that is a very segmented audience where I can say nurses in California that are ages of 35 and 50. And that is why that campaign was so successful, because I got what I call sniper approach versus the shotgun approach. When you do the shotgun approach, a lot of small businesses don't have the money to do that approach. So they never really see any real results from it.
So Jason, I think Adrian did answer your question. If not, then send a specific question.
Yes.
And we will open the route for the questions very soon. But before
it's either YouTube or TikTok. Those are my two, and LinkedIn. Those are the top 3, I would say.
Okay. And if you look back and whatever type of, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a business owner, whether you what is the most important traits every entrepreneur needs to be successful, in your opinion?
Well, I can only really speak for myself and what I know is an important value for my own company, for my team, the people that I look to join my team and to collaborate with. And there's three things that I'm always looking for that make up my personality. That's being super hungry. You got to be hungry. You got to be coachable. You got to be open-minded, be willing to learn, be willing to take advice, and you got to be humble. If you're a big shot, ego-driven person, I will never work with that kind of a person. So being hungry, being coachable, and humble. Those are the three things that I think are incredibly important. And then hardworking. That would be the fourth one. I think unless you have work ethic, you got to have crazy work ethic if you want to dominate the decade.
I have one question more. A lot of people have been asking lately, like, is the website an old and dying trend? And are the funnels taking over, or what's your take on that?
That's funny. You know, I've thought about this a lot myself, and as technology is just quickly growing, I think websites are going to evolve. I think websites, I wouldn't say that they're like the DVD players to, of the industry, but I definitely think that they're evolving. A lot of things are going to our phones, and the quicker we can get access to our favorite stuff, that's why apps are just continuing to skyrocket. So I do think that a lot of the market is going to go to apps. And so you're going to see people start to divert their attention and get more focused on, okay, these are the 20 apps that I like, or these are the 10 apps I like, and they stay within there. And then maybe they use an app for just their news feed, like Flipboard or something like that. But I think a lot of the traffic is going to go to apps. People are very, as people start working on their brands and building more brand loyalty, I think it is going to be, a lot of people do their shopping on Amazon. A lot of people do their searches on Google. I think that is going to become more important for brands going forward, 2020 and above, is to make sure that you're starting to push your clients to your app where you can have communities, you can have resources. Websites are limited in terms of what you can really do with them on a grand scheme in terms of getting in their phone and sending them push notifications and, being active like that. So, but I don't think they're ever going to go away. I just think that they're going to be just one of the other tools like email. Email marketing will never go away. A mailbox, you still have a mailbox at your house. So I think there's things that aren't going to go away. They're just not going to be as popular or as used as often as apps will be on your phone. I think it's important.
What would be your traffic secrets? How do you drive traffic? What would be your 3 secrets? Or if you have more, you can share all of them.
No, I probably have a few. I've had the pleasure of meeting Russell Brunson, who just released a book called Traffic Secrets. And his book, I know before it's even come out, I ordered a copy of it. I haven't actually read it yet, but I know for a fact that there's 3 different kinds of traffic. There's traffic that you buy, there's traffic that you own, and then there's traffic that you rent. And so when you're renting traffic from places like Google pay-per-click versus when you own traffic like Google Organic or your email list, things like that, those are really good ways to drive traffic. And then there's traffic that you can buy. So I can buy blog posts or guest posts on other websites. I can I can pay to be featured. I can pay to go to speaking events. Those are all ways of driving traffic to me that I can purchase. But the real goal is to having most of that traffic that you own, creating the YouTube channel, you own that. The only downside, obviously, to doing something like YouTube is they could change the platform. YouTube could be gone in 5 years. So even though you own that traffic, it could disappear. So you don't truly own it. There are ways to basically create your own apps to where now you do own that traffic. So that's one of the ways that I do it. But YouTubing, podcasting, networking, things like this is a huge way to get traffic to your website, get traffic to your Facebook, and drive traffic is webinars, speaking events, things like that. That's how I've been driving a lot of traffic. The YouTube stuff has been helping me. My podcast was really good. I even paid to buy or rent traffic from a radio station. So I had an actual radio show for just a little over a year, and that was really, really effective. And then there's other places. So if you're a business owner, you're a coach, there are people on platforms like Creative Space and Upwork and Freelancer and Fiverr, and there's all kinds of places where you can put yourself on these marketplaces and drive traffic to yourself and put yourself as the industry expert in a specific field. So maybe you do relationship coaching, or maybe you do business coaching. There are marketplaces where you can put yourself on that and drive traffic to yourself. There's websites like Bark. There's websites like Thumbtack. There's just tons and tons. I mean, Thumbtack and Bark are probably 2 of the bigger ones right now. I get leads from them all the time. You do have to pay for that traffic. You don't own it. You're you're buying that traffic or you're renting that traffic to come to you. So, you got to pay to play. But that's why I personally like the organic stuff, doing stuff like this that doesn't cost me anything but my time, especially when I have more time available to me than I normally do. So those are just a few of the ways that I drive traffic that have been really, really effective. And the speaking stuff, I really got to say, speaking on stages, emceeing, interviewing, and just the people that you get around, the types of people have been that's been a game changer for me. I mean, it literally not quite doubled my income, but it was like a 40% jump in income when I started speaking on stage and doing conferences and stuff.
You mentioned the apps. How would you drive traffic to your app?
So just like organic search engine optimization, the app stores, people are in there searching, putting in keywords. It's just like another search engine. So if you show up at the top 10, let's just say, and I can use this as a real scenario. I have a friend that lives here in town where I'm at, and his wife has a company called Keto Bakes. It's actually Keto Babe Bakes, and all her stuff is keto diet recipes. She does the stuff that's a lot like that one channel. It's where they're melted cheese and desserts, and it's a really popular channel now, all about food. Well, she has the same kind of channel where she's using short little video clips on Instagram stories, TikTok, and Snapchat. And she uploads those videos she shoots in her kitchen of the keto recipes. And then she sends them, uploads them also into her app and has all of her recipes on there. So drives traffic from those social sites to her app. And then she's also used all these keywords to rank her app. So she's got in the description of her app, in the title of her app, and all of the comments in her app, she strategically ranked her app just like you would rank a website. So there's actually going to be some, I think, really, really big up and comers in the app ranking marketplace that I don't think there's very many people now doing that. But you can rank your app in the top 10, top 20, top 50, and that's where you're going to get a bulk of your traffic. Then you can drive traffic through paid ads. You can drive traffic through, video, YouTube, stuff like that. So there's multiple ways to drive traffic. But that's going to be the key is if you have a specific niche product like keto or elderberry syrup or marketing training or women leadership, things like that, you know who your audience is. It's really easy to find where they're all talking, where they're conversing, where they're coming together. And Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, there's a lot of ways to do it. And that's actually another one as far as driving traffic is creating a Facebook and a LinkedIn group. If you don't have a group, if you're not in a group, I would encourage you to go watch how a Facebook group is run for a while before you go start your own. But a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group is a really good place to bring people into a specific niche category like digital marketing or digital marketing training or pay-per-click advertising or video marketing, and bring in and create a community of people. And you can answer questions. And now as that tribe grows, that traffic is going to grow as well.
Wow, this has been 28 minutes of pure value. It's like every single...
I brought the fire hose. I hope everybody's ready.
Thank you so much, because to be honest, I heard about the apps and all of that, but nobody could really answer me the way that you just did, and I'm very thankful because I needed that information.
That's awesome. Well, there's a lot of people that are really struggling to drive traffic, and I have a friend of mine who's like, I think he's like 21 now, but at 19 years old, this kid is just phenomenal. He actually wrote a book called Small Steps, Big Changes. And he has a podcast that's named, or it's actually Tiny Steps, Big Changes. And he has a podcast. His name is Greg Clunas. And at like 19 years old, he had like 4 million or 5 million views on his podcast. And I was like, how the heck did you do that? I have a podcast and I got like 20,000 views. Like, what is the difference? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, it's very simple. A lot of people fail to do their research and see where their customers are and where the people are. He goes, and when it comes to launching a podcast, he goes, I did my research to see what podcast platforms people were listening to. And he found out that 97%, and this was a couple of years ago, so things may have changed a little bit, but at that time, 97% of all podcasts that were listened to were done on iTunes. And when you send your traffic directly to iTunes versus uploading your podcast to your website or uploading your podcast to another platform, and there's a lot of other things that people do where they're uploading their podcasts. But if you put them directly to the iTunes podcasting platform, and then you send all of your traffic there, whether you paid traffic, organic traffic, YouTube traffic, whatever that traffic is, if you send all your traffic there, YouTube or Apple sees that, and they start ranking your podcast at the top of the charts. And that's what you want, is you want your podcast to show up at the top 10, 20, 50, at least the top 100 on the charts. And so that's what you'll see a lot of these podcast ranking companies, that's what they're doing, is they're ranking your podcast in the top 20 or 25 or 50 or 100 within a certain given amount of time. And that's what creates the traction for getting a bunch of visitors and downloads on your podcast. So that's just a little gold nugget that he shared with me that I wanted to share with you guys, that I thought could be really powerful. If there's somebody listening to this that has a podcast and you're sending traffic to Spotify and you're sending traffic to Google Podcasts and all these other places, you're really wasting that energy, because at least probably nowadays 92 to 95% of them are still going to Apple. So you need to send all your traffic to them.
Wow, thank you very much. I guess you saved us like $5,000 of going and asking that type of consultation.
That's the beauty of mentors. That's exactly why you need a mentor.
Exactly. So now please prepare your questions, whether you're looking at the Facebook. Thank you for joining us, and everybody that we have here on Zoom. You can either raise your hand or you can just write them in the chat area here. And until you do so, I will ask Adrian, in your opinion, give us 3 recommendations how to dominate your decade.
Man, how to dominate your decade. Well, I think it comes back to what makes somebody special is obviously you got to know your audience, but being hardworking. That is how I beat my competition every time. When I'm up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there's like a feeling that I get that I'm like, I know my competition is sleeping right now and they have no chance of keeping up with me. I'm willing to outwork my competition. So that's a big one. And understanding that you're going to have to outwork your competition, especially in the beginning. It's not always going to be like that for me. I know, 5 years from now, there's no way I'm going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning working and back up again at 7 or 8 o'clock. There's just no way I can keep up with that long term. But couple nights a week, I'm usually up super late, making plans, strategizing content, working on my next YouTube video content. I'm always going. I mean, and I have a lot of energy at this point because I'm so excited and so passionate about what I'm doing. So you got to make sure that if you're going to dominate, that you got to be really passionate about what you're doing. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, that's going to show. And the more passion you have, the more waves you're going to make, the more people are going to be drawn to you. And that's a big deal. So your community is probably the second thing I would say is you got to have a strong community behind you. My dad told me when I was a little kid, you hang out with 4 millionaires and you'll become the 5th. And I really took that to heart. He also told me that, you make more with your mind than you do with your hands. And that's what changed me from going over from doing construction work to doing what I'm doing today. Is I didn't want to be breaking my back, lifting huge blocks of concrete and throwing them into a truck. I knew that I could make more with my mind and my personality than I could, doing manual labor. So but that gave me my work ethic. So work ethic, passion, and community. I think those are three essential things. And just being honest with people, again, it comes back to the core values. I think just being super honest. You can be hardworking, you can be hungry, but if you're not honest with people, it's going to quickly catch up to you, and your reputation is going to go down the hole. And that's really, for men and women, that's all we really got at the end of the day, is our reputation and our word. So I think that's really important, is to dominate, is you just got to be an authentic, genuine, hardworking person and be willing to put in the work. That's a lot of people are afraid of putting in the work. They think that there should be a balance between work and fun. And I think there needs to be, but I think it starts off at a younger age, anywhere between 18 to 35. I think you're going to have to put in more work. You're going to have to outwork the older generations who have already put in their time. So I think, I told my son this as a lesson the other day. He's spending so much of his time focused on having fun every moment. Oh, what can I do next that's fun? And I'm like, dude, that's just not the reality of life. I want to prepare you for success in life. You're 10 years old and it's time to start thinking about a healthier balance. What out of your day, how much time do you think you spend working? He's like, oh, maybe 30 minutes. I'm like, do you think that's a good balance between work and fun and helping out and contributing to the family? Like, what do you think is fair? How much of your time do you think, 80%, 20%? And I just let him answer me. And he was like, I think it would be fair for me to do a couple hours of work a day. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I led him to that answer. So I think as we get older, we can have more fun and we earn that. I think it's something that we earn. But in the beginning, we're going to have to put in significant amount of work. And I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. They just want to have fun. They want to lay around. They want to watch their favorite Netflix. They want to play video games. They want to do everything other than put in the time and make the sacrifice.
I can totally confirm when I wrote to Adrian last night, and as we are 1 hour ahead of him, then at 1 o'clock he still answered. So yeah, he was up very late last night as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And just get to work, get it done. Nobody is going to do the work for you that is needed to excel, and especially in the times like this. It's not the time to sit back and wait that someone is going to take care of your problems. So you need to understand that you are the person who can change your life. But we have two questions. One is from Jason. Thank you, Jason. You're very active. Thank you. What's the best way to have an app designed?
So there are a number of ways to go about that. A lot of people get this wrong and they waste a lot of money. So I'm really glad he actually asked that question. What I have typically done for myself, I've done two different methods. I built an app myself because I'm a graphic designer, because I know some front-end programming, I know HTML and CSS. I was able to use a platform. It's a website app, or it's an app builder. One of them is called Buildfire. I don't currently use that anymore, but it's kind of like a drag and drop. You can do some of your own custom coding. They give you some templates to work off of. But what I did first is I created note cards. And on the note cards, I did what each screen is going to be. So you turn the note card sideways and you kind of draw out what the customer experience is going to be like when they jump onto your app. So just like we do with websites, we plan on what the experience is going to be. Just like when somebody opens up a retail business or a restaurant, there's a flow. So your website, your app, all these things need to have a flow. What is your objective? So if your objective is to get them to make a purchase, when they jump on the app, one of the first things that they should be is, learn more about our product, or, check out what we have going on, or check out our offer, something like that, something informational where you're going to educate them and entertain them at the same time and get them to take that action and make that purchase. If you're doing something that's more community-based or service-based, then you want to make sure that you're giving them a nice funnel where you're leading them to what the end goal is. Maybe first you need to validate why they're even there on the app, thank them for being on the app, things like that. But you need to make it into note cards first and plan out what the app is going to be. So when we do custom apps, which is what we do a lot more now, I don't really do the builder stuff anymore, is I'll use a program called Adobe Experience Design. And it's a really good tool if you have the Adobe Creative Suite. And with Adobe Experience Design, you can lay out those screens, screen by screen, and create a flow of how that app is going to work piece by piece. And so what you can do is you can then take that app, the experience design file, and you can send it to an app developer. And then they can load it into a content management system, because there's a few of them out there that you can use to build your app on top of, basically. It's kind of like WordPress. WordPress is an open source platform where you can build the most amazing website almost to any scale that you want on WordPress. So there's platforms like that you can build custom designed apps, and you're going to code it within that platform. I'm forgetting the name of the platform that we use most often, but having a custom, but you got to have the wireframe and you got to have the mock-up first of what the screens look like, what it's visually, how the customer is going to go through the experience of the app, and really what the goal is. So that is the first place you got to start, is your planning. You got to have a really good plan in place. You got to have your mock-up and your wireframe. Then you go into development. And then once you're in development, you're going to have a content management system where you load your videos, or you load your articles, or you load things into, or where your community is going to sit if you have a community on your app, things like that. All the custom features, that's where you're going to kind of plan out and put a bulleted list of what are the features that you need. Do you need sound? Do you need timers? Do you need a community? Do you need live chat support? Like, what are all the features of the app? And making sure that your app developer has all that on top of the mockup is really, really important. And then once those things are done, then you sign up for an account on iTunes, and then you sign up for an account on Google Play, and you can load your app in there, but then you're going to have bugs. No matter how good the developer is, no matter how talented they are, there's going to be bugs that come up in the system. So then you got to be really responsive to the feedback that you're getting once your app goes live. And you don't really want to release that out to everybody at the beginning, because no one's going to find your app in the beginning. You're not just going to load your app there and all of a sudden millions of people are going to start finding it. You're going to have to drive traffic and be visible and rank that app to, obviously, like we talked about. So what you're going to want to do is get a core group of people. Like if I was going to launch my instagraphics app, or if I was going to launch my Meek Mentors app, I would get Ragne, I would get my friend Chris, I would get Timothy, I'd get all these people together in a group, and we would call it an alpha testing group or a beta testing group, you know, for both. You can go from alpha to beta, and we would test it out, and I would have all of my tribe, my closest people, go check the app out, download it, leave feedback for me, and give me their opinions on it. And then from there, you can start to kind of cast a wider net, and now go to people who don't know you and just basically do what's called a focus group, and have a focus group of 10 people and see how they interact with the app. That is really important before you launch. That's what I call the go-to-market strategy. You need to make sure that you dot all your I's and cross all your T's before you really blow it up and start spending thousands of dollars trying to promote your app and rank your app and doing all those things.
Again, so much value, so much value. So should we invest in advertising during 2020 or the next years? Are people still buying advertising this year?
Yeah, they're still buying. The right companies are buying. There's a quote by Warren Buffett that I read a couple of days ago that made me laugh. It says, when the tide goes out, you see who's been swimming naked. And so I think there's been a lot of people that have been like the fake it till you make it kind of thing, and that have been trying to just act like they're big, you know, celebrities and thought leaders, and aren't putting their money where their mouth is. They're making a lot of noise organically, which is great. I think that's an important avenue of traffic. But if you're an ad agency or you're a marketing agency and you're not spending money on advertising, that's a big red flag for me. So I think it's important that all of the competition that you have has just cut back on their advertising. Not all, but a lot of the competition has cut back on their advertising. There is no better time for you to go all in, use video, use great content, great articles, press releases, all those different ways that you can drive traffic and actually advertise that stuff, because your competition isn't advertising. The competition isn't as high. You do have to keep in mind that the demand, which is always very, very important for any business, a lot of people forget that, is they launch a product or a service and they don't really think about what the demand is before they launch it. And you got to think about the demand. So if you're going after something that has no search volume or has very little traffic and you're advertising for that, you could be wasting money. So make sure that what you're going after, like I did a bunch of research for my own advertising. I'm going after marketing consultant. I'm not going after digital marketing agency. I'm not going after branding agency or logo design agency. I saw that there was less competition, a high amount of demand, like 40,000 searches a month for marketing consultant. So that's the keyword I'm advertising for. And I'm only putting like $750 into it versus $2,000 or $3,000 like I normally do, because I'm focusing a lot of my energy right now on my branding, on my messaging, on my content, on my YouTube. So a lot of my time and energy and money is being put towards advertising on my YouTube channel and things like that instead.
But also, I have noticed that the advertising prices are like, wow, they are significantly lower than they were. So if you know who your avatar client is, if there is a demand, and if you do have the money, do it now, and that will separate you for sure. No? But we have more questions. Who are your mentors in marketing? But let's see, maybe this, which platform are you seeing the best return on investment with paid traffic? Let's answer the paid traffic before, because the other one goes with the next what we were going to discuss.
So depending on for myself as a marketing agency, as a marketing guy, where I'm seeing the best return on investment is definitely through LinkedIn and through YouTube. Those two right there are just, I mean, if you're a B2B guy or a gal, that is your tribe. That is your audience right there. LinkedIn is all business people. So I can target, if you go under people under the LinkedIn search and you hit, refine, you can actually hit apply filters. There's a ton of filters from job titles to location to the companies they work for. I could put in Apple, CMO, and anybody that is a chief marketing officer for any department in Apple will pull up their names on a list. I can highlight them. I can send them connection requests. And then once I've got them in my system, because I have a LinkedIn automation system, once I've actually got them in my system, I can export all their information and I can start retargeting them, marketing to them, and literally create messaging. Hey, you're a CMO for Apple. You need to check out this tool. And now they're like, what the heck? It's incredibly targeted. So the targeting that you can do on LinkedIn is phenomenal. And it's the same thing with YouTube. Is people are spending more time on YouTube now than, I think the viewer time is just it's skyrocketed since all this stuff happened. So YouTube is a really great way if you can get targeted like specific channels, like Grant, if I could put a video for a B2B marketer on Grant Cardone's videos or Gary Vaynerchuk's videos, things like that, and place a really high and entertaining, engaging video on their channel specifically, that's powerful, incredibly powerful. So that would be my recommendation, is if you're a B2B marketing guy or anything in the B2B space, LinkedIn and YouTube would be my go-to.
You mentioned the LinkedIn automation system. What is this?
Yeah, so my business partner actually built a tool, and it's called leadbutler.io, and that tool allows you to create connections. So what you do is, we have two options. We have a do-it-yourself, and then we have a done for you. And so we've sent over, I think we're at like 30,000 messages so far that we've sent out on LinkedIn in the last 6 months. And so we've gathered all of this data, and we see when you send a connection request to somebody that's like half a mile long and says, I'm in the same space as you, and I'm looking to connect with more people, and the typical stuff that everybody's sending, the connection rate that you get is like 10 to sometimes even lower, 5% to 15% on the highest. But when you just say, hey, you actually take the time to either get to know them, or you're more targeted and you can speak to that specific person, just looking forward to connect with you. Then you start getting those 20, 25, and 30%. We actually found, if you have a really creative, funny message, like, hey, I just washed my hands and I'd love to connect with you. Things like that are funny, that are humorous, that get an emotional reaction from people, have a higher connection rate. And you'd be surprised. We did a campaign where we didn't do any connection message. That all it was just straight connect and no connection message with it. And we had a 25% connection rate versus sending a mile-long connection thing where you get 10 or 15%. So it's funny to see less is more, especially with LinkedIn. People are so bombarded by people, hey, when you take my course and let's book a call and all that stuff. So that would definitely be something I would use. So it does that. It does the LinkedIn connections, and then it nurtures your existing customers. So you can pick a targeted list. Like, I want to go after, environmental industry folks, and I want to send them a message saying, hey, hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for what you guys are doing in our community. Or truck drivers, thank you for supporting our community. Whatever you can do there. That's a really good way. And way that we use our system is to nurture your existing database. I just did that because I have 3,000 connections on mine, and I have added 212 new subscribers to my YouTube channel just using my existing connections on YouTube.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, again, try to get that from anywhere else. I think we broke the internet, as they say, but
yeah.
And who missed it, I'm very sorry for them. Let's answer. Who are your mentors in marketing?
Oh, I love this question. This is probably my favorite question so far, because I love mentors so much. So I have 4 that I want to pick on, and I want to use 4 different ones. 3 of them are kind of in the same category, but the other 2 stand out to me. But the first ones are a guy named, one of them is Terry McAdam. And Terry McAdam's an older gentleman now. He's in his late 60s, and he was the vice president of ServiceMaster Corporation. They're a publicly traded company. They own Molly Maids and ServiceMaster and all these huge companies, ChemDry and ChemLawn. I mean, tons of companies they have under their umbrella. And he ran their acquisitions, mergers, did a lot of really high level stuff. And so I met him back in 2012 and learned about corporate structure and how to become a federal contractor and how to really reach people on a sales side of marketing. How do you position your stuff, write contracts, write proposals, things like that. He helped me as a marketing guy really position my stuff the right way so that I could use the right terminology and be taken seriously, not just for my skills, but for how I position deals. So that was a huge win for me, is to understand how to position deals, how to approach a deal, what I should be asking for up front, how to take retainers, all that stuff, just how to position myself correctly. That was a big deal. And then at the same time, right around the same time, I was working for a home improvement contractor. That's how I met him. I met a guy named Dighton Bradford. He goes by D. Bradford. And Dighton Bradford went to the University of Pacific in California and got his Juris Doctorate, his law degree, from the University of Pacific, George School of Law. And this guy had spent 35 years in the marketing industry. And he literally has just written a book. It's not out yet. I don't even know the title of it, but he wrote a book on marketing. He has his master's degree. He has his PhD. He has like 3 or 4 degrees. And the guy is just incredible wealth of knowledge. And I remember bringing him a mattress, a brochure that I had designed for a mattress company. And I was super proud of it. It was called Mr. Mattress. It was red and white and blue and patriotic and clean. And it was a beautiful design. I was so proud. I'm like, dude, look at Dighton. Look at my brochure. And he's like, wow, it looks really nice. But what's the point? But I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what's the point of the brochure? And I'm like, to buy a mattress. He goes, show me in this brochure where it says to buy a mattress. And I like looked through the brochure, and as beautiful as it was, I was like, I talk about, that they have mattresses, they carry these brands, but there's nowhere in here that talks about buy a mattress, call to get a mattress. And so I realized that I didn't have a solid objective with all of the content. And I didn't really fully understand, because I was just going from being a graphic designer to being a marketing guy. I'd learned pay-per-click advertising and SEO, but that didn't mean I understand the content marketing side of things and the psychology behind marketing. So for 6 months straight, every single day, 2 to 3 hours a day, I picked his brain. I got to sit right next to him in the office. And I just asked him question after question after question. And he taught me a strategy, which I'll share a little bit of here. And it was, what are the logical reasons why somebody would want to buy the mattress? What are the ethical reasons why somebody wants to buy a mattress? And what are the emotional reasons why somebody needs to buy a mattress? Being able to produce better at work. And so all these things. And so I created a chart, and I created my own method off of what he taught me. Okay, here's the logical reasons, here's the ethical reasons, and here's the emotional reasons. And so whenever I do a marketing plan now, he taught me, dude, you cannot take the chance. If I'm going to put my money on the line and my time on the line, which is worth more than money, and I'm going to throw an idea out there, I need to make sure that it's going to stick 90% of the time. And if I can do it 100% of the time, then great. And so the more I follow this process, the more I did it for my own clients, I saw the return on investment and the success rate. I mean, it was insane. Just making something look beautiful and nice is cool, but you actually have to make it speak and connect to people. So that's what I did. I started implementing that strategy into everything, and actually using the logical, ethical, emotional side of things to actually get their attention and to build a connection with the different types of personalities. Because some people are more heart emotionally driven, that cry just at the slightest of a puppy, that falls over. And then there's the person that's the ethical person, who's very driven, goes and buys a Prius or goes and buys an electrical car. And then you got somebody that's just pure logic, the engineers, the mathematicians, that type of person. And you're going to only get them by facts. 70% of people or 93% of people are listening to podcasts on iTunes. That is a logical statement. So statements like that work for people that are logically driven, and everybody's going to have that. But more people are going to be on the emotional side. This is the best podcast if you're a Christian, or this is the best podcast if you believe in God. And it just really varies depending on what your product, your service, and your offering is.
Wow. We have some questions regarding agency, but I think that would also go very well with the final notes. So those are the final questions which we're going to ask, as I just asked 1 hour out of your time. So we're 7 minutes in. So there are many marketing agencies out there, and they are all very good. What advice would you provide the business to follow before signing the contract with any advertising agencies?
Oh, how do I even begin that one? Wow. Okay. So first of all, with all due love and respect, because I love people, the first part of that question is they're all good couldn't be any more incorrect. They are not all good. In fact, it's the opposite. Most of them are not good. And I hate to say that, especially about my own industry, but most of them are fly by night, throw an idea at the wall, hope it sticks, smoke and mirrors. Let me just try to use my experience in the corporate world or in business to pretend like I'm this leading marketing expert. But the reality is that's just not the case. People that are really, really good at marketing have data and case studies and portfolios and referrals and recommendation letters and all of these things that they can do that are called social proof. And you should not move forward with anybody unless you have anywhere between 3 and half a dozen referrals, recommendations, testimonials that are actually like video testimonials, not just written. You can have Google reviews on your Google review page, but you can also buy those. So as much as I love and believe in getting Google reviews, it's really good for building authority and building traffic and getting your business ranked on the maps, which is huge for traffic as well. You need video reviews, you need video testimonials, you need screenshots of people writing you on Facebook. Social reviews are really, really good on your Facebook page because it has their profile picture, it has their name. You need to be able to see the proof A lot of people just take their people's word for it nowadays, especially in the marketing. They got this really nice website and they got this really cool looking campaign and they got this really fancy video that they put together and a really good speech and a really good presentation. But when it actually comes down to it and they get the money in their hand, they're on to the next client and they're just chasing the next client. And that's really typical within our industry, especially for marketing agencies. And I think that's the real root of the problem and what I have done and why I've been moving away as a marketing agency and moving into the marketing training and consulting, because I want to teach people this. I want people to understand that not all agencies are created equal, that we're living in a time where just like the printing industry was 10 years ago, where everything went online and the Vista prints popped up, marketing agencies are a race to the bottom. It's all about who can offer marketing for the cheapest price and still get somewhat of a result for people. And so when people are having to constantly price shop and lower their prices and lower their rates, you don't get the high level of touch that we offer. And so that is the biggest downfall with agencies, is they're chasing their next client because they're just trying to feed themselves and the retention rate of how long have their clients stayed with them. So you need to be asking questions like that, like, okay, cool, you have 100 clients. How long have these 100 clients stayed with you? You know, what's the average life expectancy, or what's the average relationship time of these clients? Like, how long does your typical client, stay with you? And if they say, 6 months or a year, there's some red flags and some issues there. I have clients that have been with me for 5 years and longer. So that is a really big deal to ask that question as well, is the communication between you and your agency. That you should be able to call your marketing agency person at almost at any time and say, hey, I have a quick question, or hey, what's going on with my campaign? And they should be able to say, oh, here's the information. But if you're a really good agency, like I feel like we are, my marketing team is we have things in place like reporting tools that at any time, one of my clients can log into their dashboard and it can see day by day, almost hour by hour, of what their campaign is doing, how many leads they've got, how many clicks they've had, what they've spent in advertising. You should be able to see your marketing campaigns and how they're running almost at all times. So that's something that is really important. If they don't have that kind of process and system in place, then they're probably a tiny little mom and pop, and they're chasing volume and they're chasing clients just to try to keep their paycheck coming in, and they're not really going to give you the time and the attention that you deserve. And so that's what you really are going to be able to see within 30 days of hiring somebody, is what's the level of communication and time that agency is going to give you. And if they start throwing out prices to you like, oh, I can do it for $500 a month, or I can do it for $1,000 a month, or I can do it even for $2,000 a month, there's something going on there. There's something missing. They're shortcutting things somewhere. You can't really make much of an impact. I mean, what are you expecting on an ROI on $2,000 a month? If you doubled your money, $4,000 a month in revenue off of $2,000 in marketing, would you be happy with that? It's not a good multiple. So you need to be able to be realistic when they're quoting you $500. How much time are you going to spend for $500 working on somebody's stuff? How much is your time worth? So just do the math. A lot of people get caught up on this on marketing agencies and web design companies, as they say, oh, I'll build a website for $500. I'm like, wait a minute. It takes 30 to 40 hours to build a WordPress website. Let's just do the math. If it takes 40 hours to do a WordPress website and you're charging $500 divided by 40 hours, that's $12 an hour. How could you possibly build a website for me for $12 an hour? Just doesn't make any sense. So those are things that you need to be taking into consideration. Don't get sidetracked by the fancy presentations and all the stuff that you see online about them. It's all about what's the proof, what's the actual real results that they're getting, what are the case studies and the numbers that they have.
Yeah, that's very true. So how can people reach you, your agency, if they want to learn more, if they want to maybe have a first consultation with you and see if you're the right fit, then they will actually follow your advice, asking you all the social proof and et cetera, et cetera. So.
Well, the first thing I'll say is if you're doing less than $1 million in sales a year right now, then you probably need a foundation, kind of a training of marketing. And that's my mentoring program that I have. I'll take you through the 4 steps. It just takes 30 days, 1 week at a time. And I go through 4 steps with you. So you have a foundation. I want to make sure that you have realistic expectations, that you understand what's going to happen, how long it's going to take. All of these things are really, really important. I want to make sure that you have brand clarity, that your targeting is right. So that's what I take people through. And so for that, you'd be going through my personal, me as a mentor, adrianboycel.com. So it's just my name, first and last name.com, adrianboycel.com. But if you are at that million and higher and you understand marketing, you know that it doesn't happen overnight, you're willing to put your money where your mouth is and advertise and acquire customers, and you have a CRM and all these things in place, then you're probably a good fit for me on the agency side. So you'll just go to Adrian Graphics, ADRIAN graphics.com, and you'll see my portfolio, my clients. I have case study pages. I have actual video testimonials from clients that we've done work for, website portfolio, logo portfolios, all the stuff that we've been doing. And we're loading more and more up on there on a daily basis. So that's another way that you can get a hold of me if you want to hire an agency, or you're looking to hire an agency and you're kind of reaching that next level and you want to scale. That would be the way to go. So either adrianboycel.com or adriangraphics.com, either way. And if you're brand spanking new and you're not even ready for that, because the Adrian Boycel mentorship, you know, I work with people, I'm flexible on my rates with that. But if you're just kind of coming up with an idea right now and you're in research mode, you can go to Adrian Domains and buy your domain name, buy hosting, and start kind of getting stuff set up on there. And then just reach out to me on Facebook and connect with me, and I'll help you, give you as much advice as I can for free. You know, obviously to a certain extent, you know, I'm willing to help and just donate as much of my time as I possibly can with what I have available to me. But I just want to be a resource, and I want to help as many people as possible.
So Jaya, I hope that you heard that. So the last question, you need to follow exactly the rule, the roadmap that he just gave you. That the final question you can ask him. So follow him and ask. As we're already exactly 1 hour. Then
yep.
I want to thank you. I want to thank every single person that is on the call, also in the Facebook. Today, I hope that through all the examples what were given, and especially through the story of Adrian, we learned a lot. We learned one, that we're not defined neither by our past, we're not defined by our circumstances. 1, 2, we all need mentors. 3, look from where are you asking your advice. He learned very, very hard way, as you see, and especially when you ask the advice from your family members, not the best one maybe every time.
No.
And we become our conversations, as I always say. So do the evaluation or analyze who you are surrounding with, and if they do not contribute or lift you up in a place that you want to be, then it's time for a change. You need to change the room. So if we change just one life today, our mission is completed. But if you were listening to this and you know that I hope that we were valuable for you. I know that me as my personal feedback to Adrian, I learned a lot. I made even notes as much as I could. And if you see the value, and if you think that someone else could be valuable, please share with that person, because by doing that, you become the change maker in their lives. And this is exactly why we are here. So every day, today is Friday, so we're going to take 2 days off. I hope you will miss us. And Monday we start again. This Monday, as Dr. Hazel Harrington is from Australia, so it's pre-recorded. So her video is going to be launched at 11 a.m. Los Cabos time. Again, it's a very good continuous talk, what we just had with Adrian, because she's going to talk about branding and international branding, and I think you need to listen. Maybe you're even better prepared when you go and contact whether Adrian or whether Hazel after those talks. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I will see you on Monday at 1 p.m. with the Spanish group. And Adrian, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just want to say thank you, Jaya. Thank you, John. Thank you, Gabby and Lily, for your comments and those questions. Those were great questions, and I know you helped other people out by asking those. So thank you so much, and just love you guys. I hope you have a blessed day. And I always say, keep looking up.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody.